Welcome to Let's Talk Possibility, episode 24 on March the 12th, 2012. Tonight we are talking to Tanya Hayward, a media hussy, about how to turn an issue into a solution. And we're using the case study of the issue of having no panties. Thanks for listening.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Possibility with my co-host Telana and our very special guest, Tanya Hayward from Media Hussies. And tonight we'll be talking to Tanya about the possibility of taking a huge obstacle and turning it into an amazing opportunity. Tanya, why Media Hussy?
It was about 2001. I was working with Nickelodeon in London. I was with a friend and she was saying, well, what do we do? What actually do we do? And I said, well, we work in media. And she said, yeah, we hustle it. I said, yes, that's it. We media hussies. And it's also about taking the word hussy back. You know, a hustler is a man who works creatively in business. And a hussy is a cheeky, wanton woman who supplies sexual gratifications for money. So I thought, let's turn it on its head. Let's empower it. Let's take back the name. It's our name, so let's take it back. And it's about being different. I'm from a little village in Zululand called Kwambanombi, and I definitely think local but go global. And I like to shock people and say, I'm from Kwambanombi and I speak 4 languages. You know, they're like, wow.
And so a lot of what Media Hussy let's call it, what it does is you educate people and empower them through the use of media and entertainment.
Well, I hope I do that. I try to do that. I think that we've got a huge opportunity here. I think media, what is media? So one of the lectures that I give my students, let's put it that way, and media comes from the word medium. Mm-hmm. So it's fluidity. So this is obviously media, but the one-on-ones, the shoe salesman. Hi, would you like to buy a shoe? If you can't sell that on one-on-one, you can't sell that in a picture, you can't sell that in a movie. I think it's about telling the story in different mediums. So yes, we hope we are empowering people through education, and as we do more projects and as we gain more momentum, we hope our pool gets bigger and the net gets thrown further.
And you're specifically targeting or have a specific target market. Mm-hmm. You're really focusing on the women and youth.
Correct.
Through it.
Yeah. I think that women are our circle in any community. They're the core. And with that core, obviously, you have your children. It comes from a very narcissistic point of view. I am a woman and I was young. So I thought to myself, when I was growing up in the battleground of media, I thought, well, let me focus, let me become niche. When I came back from London, I thought to myself, everybody's a production company, but let me be specific. I know the stats on women. I know the stats on youth. I read UNICEF reports. I am one of those geeks that trawl through the internet and do research. I have friends who send me links. So I think it's about being niche. I think you need to be specific.
And in keeping with that, your short pant project, tell us a little bit about the history of and the name.
Sure.
Such an interesting name.
3.5 years ago, I was very angry. Spent a lot of money in therapy saying that. Because I read an article on these young girls at an orphanage. I immediately called them. I offered them up my services. I was then, kind of conscripted into the board. And my first project was to get panties for these girls. A lot of the sex trafficked girls, a lot of the throwaway girls, as they're referred to in the kind of the NGO industry, come off the streets and they don't have any underwear. Why? Because the pimps take their panties away so that they can obviously solicit the clients more. They can flash them. The clients have access quicker to them. So they come off the street and they don't have any panties. Also, I think when you're looking at the breadline, I don't think panties are something that you go to Pep stores or Checkers and say, oh, I really need a pair of panties. A kind of a skirt, a pair of long pants is more something that you would buy or that you would be given. And thirdly, people don't like to donate short pant. They like to donate clothes or food or that kind of thing. Why the name? I wanted to desexualize panties, knickers, undergarments, jockstraps. I wanted to make it something that it is a short pant. You know, you have those panties in your drawer. I've got hundreds of panties. I've got the big granny panties. I've got the sexy panties. But I've also got what I now like to call them the short pant, which is basically the panty, bit of shorts, and it's comfortable, made out of cotton, something it's a safe panty. And that's how we came up with it. We also, tongue-in-cheek, wanted to turn it from being so serious into something that was attainable and approachable. It's much easier to say that you work on a short pant program than a panty program, because immediately everybody thinks of sex.
Yes.
Of course, because the female genitalia, that's the only thing it's there for, not giving life, not actually biological functions, which is 90% of what actually we do with it. So it's about, humanizing it.
And the symbolism of, or rather, not the symbolism, let's call it the gist of the project, of what you're trying to achieve, the outcome of your project. Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, Lauren Phillips, who's our panty designer, 2 years ago sat me down and said, I've just got to explain something to you. I think you need to be less kind of dogmatic in your approach, because I had the formula and it was going to be done like this. And she said to me, it must be organic. So what is the program? It's not a program. For us, it's a campaign. I think it's about finding the voice. First of all, it's about identifying what the issue is. I think if you have regarded yourself only as a sexual being, then that's what you're going to project. Today on the way to work, I saw a young lady, high heels, tight skirt, long hair, very low cut. And obviously she was being cattle-called by men in cars. Now, if you see yourself as that and you project it, then that's what the world is going to give you. So I think the campaign is about reclaiming yourself. It's about saying, I am whole as a woman, and whole as the woman meaning that I include the female genitalia as well as the heart, the soul, the skin, and everything. And it's about giving yourself dignity back. And obviously our throwaway girls. I mean, those are the pilot projects, but it's a much bigger campaign than that. I think that if all women, if we could join the knitting circle, if we could all come together and little piece by piece by piece, like we've had on our short pant lend a hand days, and contribute, then we will make a difference. You know, they say if all the people in China had to jump at one time, would the world shake? I think it would. It might have been a chappie's question as a kid.
Now, talking about the short pant project and what you do there with teaching the girls life skills and trade skills, teaching them to sew and make their own clothes and empowering them in that way. Tell us more about your vision.
Okay.
I know you say that you'd rather teach them to fish than to give them the fish.
Sure.
So elaborate for us on that.
A lot of these girls that come from the sex trafficking industry and the prostitution industry, let's say, don't even have a grade 3. A lot are illiterate. So what it is, it's about enabling them to, for example, cold call, to get that first job interview, to write a CV. What is a CV? What does curriculum vitae stand for? What do we include in it? So it's about, the first module is about branding yourself. The second module is about marketing and business. The third is about the actual creation, the design, the sewing. And then the fourth module will be taking it to market. So it's a 360-degree look at how to sell a panty. What should be on that panty, how to brand it. So we give short courses, let's put it that way. We've created a short course to a little bit of marketing, a little bit of business, a little bit of sewing for young girls who haven't had the opportunity. I mean, I worked with a young girl who had never gone to school, and she was 15 years old, and she had 2 children, which is very sad. So where does she start? Grade 1? Grade R? With a 6-year-old?
I don't even think we have a system to account for that. So that's interesting. So that's the actual short pant project you said, which has had some difficulties in. You've actually found, as you've been implementing it, the actual issues have been obviously surfacing, which has got getting you to look at it. And you've got the short pant campaign that's been running that has grown. So from the problem, the issue of these girls arriving without underwear, has grown now using that into the solution of exposing all the issues that are around it. Because I think it's some of the issues we we've been unpacking is that not only the young girls claiming back their bodies and having some dignity and being able to dress themselves and then educate themselves in order to go there, but there's the issue straight to, like you were saying, just trying to get some funding to do this.
Mm-hmm.
People are reluctant to come on board because they don't want to talk about the issues that this short pant project is surfacing. To, like, I find it interesting that people would donate clothes to an orphanage, but they won't donate underwear. It just doesn't seem to enter their frame of reference, or it's just...
Yeah, well, it's I think it's... Firstly, it's about demystifying what it is. To sex traffic girls aren't just sex traffickers. They're not the ones that are bought for 50 Rand in rural Zululand and imported into Johannesburg. It's also about, transactional sex. It's about, you want to take me out for dinner? Sure, no problem. I'll give you a little bit of something, but this is what I need to have. The checklist. Girls do have a Minister of Finance, a Minister of Education, a Minister of Housing. I've met them. They have sugar daddies. I know girls who are in my circle, for example, who also engage in that. And it's about also, like you say, unpacking those issues. I think it's the onion approach. I think you start off with an idea. You're very naive. You go into an environment, and you, especially myself, going into Hillbrow for the first time. Yes, your heart's racing. Oh my gosh, it's the notorious Hillbrow. You go into the orphanage, and you start meeting the people. The statistics start turning into faces. Mm. The numbers start turning into stories. And I have hundreds of stories. I have stories of young girls that pour their heart out to me. And for a lot of the pilot projects, because they're part of orphanages, I feel like I've let down quite a few girls because I didn't continue. Because you have to step away because you're not the house mother. You didn't create that organization. So the movement is about these young girls coming forward. I mean, at the moment, I've got 3 short pant followers that actually come from the orphanage. Only 3 out of 350. And that's quite sad because, again, the empowerment of the less fortunate, the invisibles, those people that are born that aren't given an identity, that aren't recorded, that go through life with no recognition of being a human being, aren't able to access technology. However, they can send an MMS of themselves naked to their sugar daddy to get more money, to get more airtime, because that's what happens. Because if they want the airtime, they just take a photo, they MMS it, and they get ka-ching, more money.
Which is interesting. So they got access to technology, and I think that's part of what you were saying as the media hussies is you using technology or media in all forms. So not only the face to face and the projects you do with the girls, but now I think some of your longer term plans to try and make it more sustainable, that it would be to record some of your coursework and the talks that you want to do, the life skills that you're trying to get there, so that those girls can be receiving that on their cell phones, so making it much more accessible to more people. So I don't know if some of the other plans.
It's an empowerment opportunity and for employment. The short pant program enables a young girl to be able to make something, and that's very empowering. If you look at somebody and I ask them, for example, their soft skills. Everyone talks about CVs. I go on soft skills. What can you do? I don't know. No, nothing. I said, no. Can you cook? Yes, that's a skill.
Yes.
Can you do this? Yeah, that's a skill. And it's amazing how the moment a girl sitting across from me who had no skills all of a sudden has 5 skills, they're empowered, right? So the short pant program is supposed to be a global campaign where girls and hopefully boys will engage, will learn, will be able to make their own panties. We all need to wear them. Let's make it ourselves. Why not have bamboo panties? Why not have silk panties? We can have cotton panties. You can do whatever.
And different colors and
different colors, different design. I mean, our first kickoff campaign is called Customize a Short Pant. And as I said earlier, when we were having coffee, was that, I've given it out to a number of artists. Nobody's come back. I've given out white panties that were donated by Inner City Inc. And nothing has come back. So it's about the momentum. It's about the right opportunities.
Mm. You can also have safe panties.
Sure. That's what that is. It is a safe panty.
Tell us more about that.
So the short pant has a secret pocket. And in that pocket, I call it the tools of life. So if you want to go out and you want to have fun, rather be prepared than go, oh gosh. I mean, you wouldn't go hiking in heels, would you? You'd be prepared. You'd have your water bottle, you would have your backpack, you'd have your hiking boots. So it's about, if you're going out, why not be prepared? So you have a condom, you have airtime, you've got some money for a taxi, for a cab, and you've got a self-help book. That for in those dark moments, if something is happening, you can look and maybe something screams out at you to get you out of that situation. I think that a lot of risky behavior happens because of what girls are engaging in. Alcohol, drugs, bad environments. A lot of times girls wake up in the morning. If you look at the date rape statistics in South Africa, they're horrendous. Wake up in the morning, they don't know what they've done. So it's about empowering girls to say that if you are in that situation, that at least you're safe. At least you're not coming home with HIV and AIDS and pregnancy, that you do protect yourself.
And through leveraging your position as a media hussy and through your company, you're looking at making a movie, a documentary about the girls that you've come across, the stories that you have.
I would never ever make a documentary. A documentary it would just be sex trafficking all over again.
Okay.
I think it's just making the vulnerable even more vulnerable. And I think it's something that I would hate to do. Yes, I could have. I've got footage. I would never release it. Mm-hmm. It's something that's personal. It's kind of confidential. I am one of those ethical people, not very many in the media industry. A lot of people have said, why don't you do a docu? Ooh, So it's a movie. It's based on 3 characters. And it's set in diverse economic situations, obviously diversity of cultural groups, because we are the Rainbow Nation, so we have to do that. And yes, it's about finding the time to write it, about getting that voice. You need to, and like I said to Telana, we met 6 months ago at the Feather Awards. Yeah. And literally in a week and a half, I've had 3 people contacting me about short pant. So it's I call it baking. Sometimes, to get a souffle, you need to leave it in the oven just for that right amount of time. So I think that's where short pant is. And I think the movie will be explosive. It's going to be exotic and dire, and it's going to make people think. And if I can affect change firstly in myself, because that's all I can actually control, then I think I would have made a difference.
And then hopefully from that, your example is touching other people.
Correct.
And getting them talking. I mean, that's what we're trying to do tonight, is just talk about not only the issue of taking a problem or whatever challenge you're facing and actually turning that into your part of your solution, into the opportunity. Because I think that's what for me short pants also highlights, is acknowledging this a dire need, which is a symptom of something, but as turning that into part of the solution is helping to uncover and getting us talking about the issues around it. But as well, it's just that kind of thinking. So maybe it's quite interesting is how it progressed from just getting donations of clothes and underwear to. Can you remember? Was there a creative process, or is it just because you are naturally creative that?
Well, again, I'm from Kwamenombi, so I always say I have an internal GPS, and it was very ego driven. I couldn't find the home of the people that donated the first set of panties, the Katz's in Linksfield, and I kept on phoning, and I couldn't find, and I was just frustrated. And I got into the car and I said, thank you very much. And I thought, isn't there a better, easier solution? Come on. I mean, I know people who are fashion designers, and I know this, and I can teach that. And yes, it was about coming together, finding an easier solution, and also getting the girls in the orphanage that I was working with actually involved and engaged and interested. Media is such a good way to enter into the youth, because everybody loves media. They watch TV. So it's and through that, guys, I think it's also about then imparting the skills and teaching them. So yes, and empowering them, but it's also empowering yourself. I call it riding in on the white horse. When you work in the charity space like I do, everybody always wants to paint a different color. Okay. Now, I don't think whether it's blue, pink, grey or black, it doesn't matter really, as long as there is walls and you've got food and basic necessities. I mean, I talk about it in marketing. What's a need, what's a want, and what's a desire. A need is food. A want is, let's say takeaways, and a desire is an exorbitant
luxury.
The luxury. So it's also about that. It's about identifying.
I like your analogy of the white horse because, it brings to mind that it's generally your heroes that ride in on white horses. and when you think about it in this context, where the demand for this kind of trade and sexualizing our children and, as you say, stealing their childhood, the demand is created very visibly in our society. And to keep up with that demand and to satisfy.
Peeling the onion is acknowledging where that demand is and tackling that from a different angle.
If you look
in a healthy way.
Okay, if you look at the definition of rape is the engagement of sex with somebody that it's non-consensual. Now, in my opinion, anybody under, I would say 14 might be controversial, but 14 to 16 perhaps they are not consenting in any way, shape, or form. Okay, I'd like to say 30 because I have a 4-year-old daughter, but that's just not a reality. It's also what age, who decided that the sexual age of consent should be at 14 or 16? Every child is different. But unfortunately, we need to kind of level the playing field and say, this is
how society works.
This is how society works. This is how rule works. It's all about traditions and customs that then get eventualized into rules and regulations. But you're looking at a group of majority men that are soliciting these young girls and engaging in sexual practices for cash. Now, you've got to look at the psyche of that man. What is it? I mean, and I can deduce that rape is about power. It's not about sexual prowess or sexual release. It is about power. And if a child is 8, 9, 10 years old, it cannot be because they are excited sexually to engage with that young child. I mean, 3 weeks ago, there was a brothel that was closed in Point Road. 9 girls, all under the age of 15. 1 girl, 9 years old. They were drugged and they were put into a brothel. Who frequented this brothel? Businessmen, politicians, lawyers, doctors. It is not the scum of society. It's supposed to be the white collars. It's supposed to be the men that are protecting us, and that's what scares me. But we as women firstly need to find our voice and then engage with men like, for example, Dion Chang, who has assisted us in this project, and join the circle and start the campaign.
So I'd like to just salute that you have found your voice, and through your skill and passion of media, you are giving a voice to so many of you. Say that you call them the invisibles, the girls that don't have a voice in this. So thank you for stepping out and doing that, because I think that's what the short pant for me is a symbol of. It's turning a societal problem that we have that we don't want to talk about, turning into part of the solution. Getting it so that we're having shows like this and it's on the table, and people are asking you, what's this short pant project that you're doing, because that's how we're going to get people talking about it. It's not covering it, bringing it out. But so really it's also part, I mean, like I say, I mean, it's not just myself. It's obviously you've got a whole team.
We've got a team. We've got Bethia Clayton, we've got Lauren Phillips, Sonia Beresford Murray also has assisted, Claudia Muskia, Daliwanga Panchwa, Patrick Brennan. I mean, the list goes on. The Katzes, but it's also the girls. It's ironic how, there are 2 girls that have just jumped into my mind that have taught me so much. One that went on to work on another project, and then went on to another project where the client didn't pay me any money, and she actually taught me a valuable lesson. She said, "It's got nothing to do with me whether the client has paid you or not. You hired my services." And I remember her saying that to me and just thinking to myself, that's very poignant, because obviously these problems happen, and you need to find a solution to it, and you've got to continue. So it's about a group effort, I think. And it's just a tiny little light in this huge dark vacuum of what is actually happening. I mean, we had the wonderful opportunity of having an exhibition at Grand Design Live last year, where I turned a cubicle into a boy's bedroom, and we got a washing line, and we got panties, and we printed on the panties, "Did you know that the sex industry is a $9 billion industry worldwide?" The shock, the horror, the gasps of people as they walked by. It was incredible how negative the response was each and every time. And what amazed me was the lack of compassion. Yes, we got donations. We got, I think it was 1,122 Rand that went on to few expenses, but that is where the short pant kitty started. That is the only amount of money that has ever been raised for short pant, which is quite sad. And
so now I believe you are negotiating with some people who want to support the
correct
and is getting some momentum, which is very...
There's an NGO that's interested in rolling out the project. She's got a sewing circle that she does with women in Soweto, and she's very interested in it. And I think it's also possibly better because it's an older generation rather than the younger girls. So we're now moving it to disadvantaged women, or I call it vulnerable women. And then there's a corporate who wants to engage, because this is something they deal with sexual health. And ensuring that we are responsible. So they're also interested, but nothing's confirmed.
But it's great to hear that there are some, that with your persistence, that little light is people are noticing it with the short band. If people want to get hold of you, Tanya, how can
we have a website, which is www.mediahussies.co.za. We're on Facebook, Twitter, all Media Hussies, Skype, you can add me.
Yes, there's plenty of ways. And if you want to hear more about Tanya, I think if you just Google us and Let's Talk Possibility, you'll see her whole profile on our blog related to this.
Yeah, but I think ultimately the program is about finding your voice. First of all, identifying what a voice is. I think what can you do? I think it's about shouting out. You see something that annoys you, talk about it. Release it. It's not about accepting anymore. We don't like to be treated exactly, or ignoring it. It only happens to them, they. No, it's happening right now. I know girls that are transacting sex on Skype. I've interviewed some girls from northern suburbs, from good families, from private schools. So it's not just the young girls, let's say, that are taken from rural areas it's happening all over South Africa, and we need to join together and stop it in any way, form, as big or as small as you can.
So besides, I think, the issues around, the specific story, the short pants and that, I hope also that you're getting the sense of how it is possible to take what is a problem, an issue, and turn it into a solution. The actual thing that is getting to you has an answer in it. And with a bit of creativity, you can actually turn it around. Do you have a parting comment?
Yes, absolutely. I wanted to say to our listeners that to please share with us their personal stories of exactly how they've accomplished this, turn their obstacles into opportunities, and also to take very seriously what you say about finding your voice, understanding the power that exists in a single voice, to rise above the rest and bring awareness to this very real issue that we have in our country.
So find us on Facebook and Let's Talk Possibility.